Okay, hello. This is our first episode of OC Independent Filmmakers, and today we have three people with me, three very active members of this group. So let me start by Joan. If you can introduce yourself, your background and interest in film industry.
Yes, Joan Gard. As far as I'm the makeup artist of the group, and working in the filming industry, I can't give you the names of anything. I can't think of them at the moment. But anyway, I feel very confident in working in this field and working with these gentlemen and the other actors and actresses that are a part of the group. Related background is I have been involved with the skincare cosmetic business since the mid-70s. And I started professionally doing all types of work, from pageant and the masters to performing arts centers to movies and print and like slides and that type of overhead presentations for training. So my background is definitely in lots of makeup and different types of things. So thank you.
All right, Sergio?
Hello, my name is Sergio Hernandez. I'm involved in this group as an accident, I guess. I've been wanting to get into filming for a long time. I have a major in multimedia from the Art Institute. I didn't do much after graduation, and I wanted to find my way back into filming, so I joined this group, and so far the experience has been really good. I've had a lot of fun filming, and I've met some wonderful people.
Larry?
My name is Larry Stimson. For a while I've been doing video tutorials. I've been producing, writing, acting, and I got involved with this group so I could expand my horizons.
That's great. And my name is Danny. I organized this group, like I said, in 2016 this year, and in the beginning I didn't have any idea how great this group will turn into it, and the main goal of this group is basically very simple: to make good films. And every week on Saturday we'll try to do this kind of video podcast where we'll be discussing on a given subject, and the subject of today is why films, why people go to watch films, what's the purpose, and what kind of impact it does to society. So the first question, it goes to everybody can answer one by one. What is the main purpose of watching a film? What do you guys think? Why people go to watch film? To the theater, at home?
I think the main purpose is to escape reality for a little bit, break the monotony of everyday life and transport yourself into an alternate reality, if you will. I think that's the purpose of a film. Now, film is entertainment, basically.
Entertainment medium.
First and foremost, it's entertainment. I think that's what that film is. But like I said, it's something that you use to break the monotony of everyday life.
Like in my case, Titanic, that's my favorite film. I think that's the main reason I myself want to be a filmmaker. Because when I first watched that film in, 10 years or 15 years ago, I asked myself, wow, this is great. It really impacted me, not only as a audience, but also inspired me to do this kind of stuff. Like Jake is a main character. His character was so beautifully portrayed, displayed on the scene. It affected me in a way that I sort of want to be like him, live my day every day without knowing what's going to happen next. And I said, okay, if this movie affected me that much, maybe I want to be a filmmaker myself and start making films, something like Titanic, with less budget. Because that budget is, like, as we know, like $300 million. James Cameron spent $300 million making that film, but they end up making almost $2 billion. So I'm not talking about the money here, I'm talking about impact, what it gives to people. So my question is there any movie like Titanic specifically impacted you, that you want to be a filmmaker yourself, or you want to create your own art and impact other people? It can be video, it can be music, anything.
This one film definitely that did it for me. When I was a kid, like I was like 14 years old, I watched Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick. And I was amazed at the lighting of the film. Like throughout, like it seems like the scenes were very composed. Everything was just lining perfectly, and I really wanted to do that though. From that moment on, I said like I want to film. I didn't do that until later on in my life though, but that's the pivotal moment when I actually realized that's what I wanted to do.
So Stanley Kubrick movie kind of inspired you to become. And in film, specifically, what are you trying to achieve? What position are you trying to take?
I like to be behind the camera. That's
camera.
what I like to do.
It's a camera guy.
I'm a camera person. I like to be behind the camera. I like to film. I like to capture a moment.
Larry, do you have any inspiration?
Oh, probably growing up, I watched a lot of black and white movies on television, and that was fun. My mother and I used to stay up late at night and watch The Fabulous 52. It was 52 weeks of old movies that was broadcast on CBS, and I think my favorites were the Hitchcock series.
And John, you mentioned you're a makeup artist. How do you think makeup artist affects the film behind scenes, or it can be post or anywhere in production? What's the influence of being makeup artist on films?
Well, you can create a scene that is either believable or unbelievable based upon the look that the individual has. It's like, are they dying or are they joyful? And sometimes it's just the color. It's like talking about a scene that would be, someone would be embarrassed, and they may not be embarrassed at all, but you want to portray that look. So it's like all of a sudden the scene you have them just standard face, and in just reflecting on embarrassment, a standard embarrassment would be someone flushing their face. So it doesn't mean you paint their face red, but you give the glow of a face that's all of a sudden red, even if the actor is not embarrassed. They've been walking the same scene 5 times. Whatever embarrassment they had in the initial take, it was probably gone away, because their best performance is going to be the last take, of course. So it's important to just have a chance to just highlight the issue that is at hand in the scene. And that's what makeup can do. It can keep the focus on the story based upon how it's painted for the camera. So that's my feeling. As makeup is something that is to embellish the exact story.
One of the crucial elements of making films. Makeup artist, right?
Yeah, you want to have that. I mean, if it's something that you're doing a training series, you want to make sure that you don't have other elements overstating the story point. If it's training, you want to know how to do tatting. So you don't want fingernails that have glitter in them, and you don't want to have 10 rings and 14 bracelets and too many things going on in the scene if you're trying to just do a training series any more than any other kind of film. So films are great because they're used in so many elements of our daily lives now. I mean, you want to make risotto, it's not a big deal. You just go to the Food Channel and you find out how to do it in the next 10 minutes, and you go shopping and get all your food, and you've got everything they talked about at a market somewhere in the local 5-mile radius, and you can come back and create whatever you want. And so it's lovely. I mean, you can learn, you can have training, you can just learn about other elements of information, you can take care of just that entertainment fact. But I think making it have entertaining at the same time is part of that picture that's being portrayed with regards to the makeup artist role. Not they have to be in the scene. They just need to make sure the scene is in the show.
I think going back, I think if you just look at the history of entertainment, and it started off with the shows that people did and put on shows, vaudeville, for example, radio shows. Then in the early days of film, it was silent. And what they were trying to do was tell a story. But here's the problem that they had. They couldn't tell a story with words. They were telling it with images. And they were showing successive images to tell a story. It must have been very challenging in those days to put an actor on a screen and say, okay, this is a love scene, and you see somebody walking down the street and you become infatuated with that person. Well, how do you show that? So I think that those were the challenges in those days. It was certainly easy for them to do cowboy movies and good and bad cowboys. That was very popular back in the early silent films. But what a challenge for them to tell a story that they can only tell with pictures.
Okay, all right, thank you for your thoughts. And two more questions. One of them is, what is definition of a good film? How can you define this is a good film or this is a bad film? What elements makes a film good? What elements makes a film bad? It can be cinematography. Of course, if we put everything together, and it should work out to the...
Well, one thing's for sure. One thing for sure.
Let's talk about
a good film is subjective. And just like so many things in life, if you go to Amazon.com, any product you look at, there's going to be somebody that likes it and somebody doesn't like it. Same thing is true with film. No matter what film you go to, there's going to be somebody that likes that film and somebody that doesn't like that film. So I think that's a very subjective thing. So to say, what is a good film, how do you mean?
It's a very broad subject. Like, what makes a good film?
What is a good film? By whose definition?
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's very subjective.
There is no specific definition of what is a good film.
I mean,
one film can be good for a certain audience and can be bad for another audience.
I mean, there's films that, let's say, film historians or critics will say, "Oh, that's a great film," but the general audience doesn't like it, and I've seen that happen so many times.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the vice versa is true. Critics will just not like a film, and yet the general audiences will just love one. So, it's good is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, and I think there's also the emotion. That's the thing that I
On
find.
a personal level, how it affects your personal experience.
We all have different emotional buttons, I guess you could say, that allow us to feel something about what we're seeing. And some people get angry and upset about a cartoon. And it's like, but why is this is another type of film? And yet it's just emotional.
So, Joan, would you say that each affects us individually differently than you?
I think always. I think we all see different, from our perspectives, we've got different ideas as to what is being portrayed as far as the story. Personally, I feel that way. I don't think, I think of Disney films, often they'll have, like, what was that? The Mermaid, the Little Mermaid, and Ursula's and the eels and the evils and and it's like, well, of course, if the King Titan is not responsive, why does he expect the drug dealers to show up?
Yeah.
So it's an emotional. It's like some people just say, oh, those are just bad fish. Well, that was the reason they chose those types of fish. That was the reason they painted the individual in that type of form. And they take that whole process of maybe putting together a film that is a cartoon. They'll put it into real life now, just as in the Tarzan combinations. It's gone both directions.
Yes.
As well as, the films that are in Disney, only because I worked there for so many years. But those probably had the biggest impact because it was something that I was around watching a lot of aspects of it. And you look at it being entertainment, it's entertaining how so many things move forward from a film, from the little toys to everything. I mean, it's just, it's interesting. So the film industry can grab our emotions very easily and draw us into the opportunity that they're trying to portray. And I think that's what we all are looking at. We all have an emotional connection to our lives and how it's being portrayed in the world on film. So that's a personal opinion.
Could you guys predict the future of films and what direction the industry is going? Like each century or each generation has its own style, right? Before maybe it was the silent films, the one after is in black and white. Then right now, I believe just as almost, in every pretty much superhero movies goes to the first page of our theaters, and they always makes the biggest budget. But in the future, what do you think will be dominating as far as genre, as far as style or anything?
That's kind of a good question. If we look at the history of film, and as I started with the silent film, again, I was going back to my film history classes. Silent gave way to sound films, and what happened is that a lot of actors that could do very well in communicating their emotions non-verbally now had to speak, and they found themselves out of work because they couldn't deliver. So now we're looking for another dimension. We're looking for people that can deliver, maybe some stage performers. They're bringing stage performers to replace some of the actors that didn't have good speaking voices. And so it went. We had the black and white era, and they were able to do such wonderful things with black and white through the 40s, and it just almost made it seem like it was color. But then when color was introduced in the early 40s, then it just seemed like, well, that's another dimension. Well, that really changed the way they were directing films, the way they were setting up the shots, the way they were lighting films. Makeup artists, for example. Now they're not doing makeup for black and white, they're doing makeup for color. Well, it's a change. Was it better? I don't know. Some of the old black and white films I think were done very well, and it's almost, you couldn't do that in color, the things that they did in black and white. So now we went to color films, and then the next giant step was widescreen and the big promotions, the Ben-Hur and films like that. And so now the films had to be jumbo screen to get the audiences. Just this super wide, change the format altogether to widescreen. There's been experiments with 3D, and we've gone to see a number of films with the glasses that you wear, like Avatar. That was kind of interesting in 3D. Is that the future of film?
3D? I believe it's going to be 4D or 5D. I don't know. Right now, they're trying to implement the virtual reality. I don't think any future film made by that technology, which is virtual VR, virtual reality. But I think that might be one of this part of film industry where they start making films using that technology. And I'm not sure how it's going to work, but it's going to be very interesting because audience will get to peep their own scene. Using this 360 degree, they can look where they want to look. And it's going to be very challenging for filmmakers to tell the story because they'll give a chance to the audience to pick where they want to choose. To choose their scenes. So I think virtual reality will take maybe one of the crucial part of the film industry, and the 3D is already part of this industry at this time, and maybe we'll get to see 5D. It meaning you can see them on your right, on your left side very closely. I don't know, technology evolving very rapidly, so you never know. It's hard to predict, but as a filmmakers, I think it's important to keep up with this technology. It's not just enough to tell a story these days. You also have to keep up with technology if you want to be a player in this, very, very tough competition. Because you want to make a living by making films, right? Then you have to also learn how to keep up with technology, with trends. That's what I think. And this is the last question. If you guys have anything additional to add, Sergio,
Nope.
do you agree with me?
The only thing that I can think of is that I think the film industry is becoming more democratized. There's a lot of people coming up with good content. It's not just delegated to the Hollywood big studios, though. In fact, I think the big studios are going to have to change their game if they want to keep competing, because there's a lot of new players in the
Outside of Hollywood.
yeah,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
Amazon and Netflix.
Yeah,
They're
they-
spending like billions of dollars in content.
Yeah, YouTube as well. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joan, Sergio, Larry. This is, like I said, this is our very first episode. It might not turn out good or it might turn good, but we did our best in analyzing why people go to watch films. And stay with us, stay in touch. We'll try to do this every week or at least twice a month. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.